In 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, listen, I'm telling you right now, I'm sitting here with my guy James Rodriguez. He and I have a long-standing relationship since I've made it, Sheree and I made it here to Panama. But what he's going to tell you is going to save you a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of energy, particularly if you're an entrepreneur looking to move to Panama and make an investment or build a business. Sheree's not with me on this one, but y'all stay tuned for the next episode of Behind Closed Doors with the Brookses. One of the things that I realized, James, when Sheree and I came to Panama, we had already solidified how we were going to make money.
Right.
Because we had built an online business. 2015, we started Glenn P. Brooks Jr. LLC, which is a full service. I mean, you know this, online, personal and professional development business. And I think one of the biggest things that most people don't understand is that everything rises, John Maxwell says this all the time, everything rises and falls on leadership. But I like to add to that and relationships. Mm-hmm. And so you have been able to, during a pandemic, help a company make a change that solidified your place in their space and the whole bit. But I want you to kind of take your time a little bit. We're going to eat a little bit, we'll talk, chop it up. But people need to know that you're this Puerto Rican kid by descent, grew up in East Harlem, New York. And so when y'all hear New Yorican, I promise you, his face should be what you see when you open up the dictionary of what a New Yorican is. And I'm just telling you, but the thing I love, James, is that, from your days in the military to now as a restaurateur and a CEO, you have just done some incredible things, but it all started with connecting with people. Can you tell people a little bit about maybe, obviously who you are, mm-hmm. but really some of the things that you wish you would have known prior to coming to Panama to start what now is several successful businesses that you've been a part of?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me, Glenn.
Yeah.
I'm excited about sharing this with everyone. But, I came here, it was like almost by mistake, mm-hmm. because I had no intentions of coming to Panama. Actually, I was invited for an interview, and this was back in 2010 to 11. I was invited to an interview for a position as a president of a company called Extreme Planet. And when I first looked at it, and at the time I was a single dad. My daughter, raised my daughter from 12 years old mm-hmm. to 18. And she just hit 18. And they called me for an interview, mm-hmm. came down, didn't want to do the interview. I mean, I didn't want to work. I was like taking it, I'm going to come down for 3 days.
Right.
And I'm going to see Panama. The last time I was here was in 1983 when I was in the military.
Right. I laugh because have you ever been on a timeshare? You go to Florida. You're going to go because somebody has a timeshare. They let you go. All you got to do is take the tour and mind your business and say no to everything. This one took the tour and said yes.
Same thing that happened to me in a timeshare in Orlando, by the way. Same thing. I went for a free breakfast and bought a timeshare. I mean, anyway, but that's another whole
You were supposed to say yes.
Right.
I'm glad you said yes. We wouldn't have met had you.
No, absolutely not. And so, I came down, and the owner of the company that was doing the interviews wanted to hire me. Mm-hmm. He actually canceled all the other interviews and said, look, I want you to stay. And I didn't want to, I'm like, oh my God. I told my daughter I'm only coming down for 3 days. Mm-hmm. He asked me to stay for a couple more days. And the next thing I know is that I took the position. So the thing is that I wasn't really prepared. He wanted me to come already, and I did not look into anything. I just came. So I came to Panama, but because he rushed me. So I gave notice to the company I was working with, wow. and they gave, they rolled out the red carpet for me. But I did not look into the laws. I didn't, so there was a lot of mistakes that I made because
Yeah.
I didn't look into it. I just thought, hey, you could come down and work. That's where I started learning about, that you need to understand, thank God I had, the help of the company to help me put in for my immigration status. Just like in, any country, you're gonna come in, you gotta do your paperwork, you gotta do, the application, and they help you in the process. But I was not aware of any of that. Wasn't aware of anything actually. I was pretty ignorant, to be honest with you. There's several things that I've learned. You need to understand that the laws here are not the laws of your country.
Got it.
So you need to learn the business laws, because there are a lot of different laws that are different than the laws in the United States.
Sure.
I came from corporate America, Murphy Oil Corporation. I worked for Marriott, many of the big corporations, and down here it's just different. The corporation, so you need to understand that, and you need to get yourself, and this, and we talked about a great lawyer.
Listen,
a great lawyer.
I can tell you just from Sharia and I's experience with immigration, we have an incredible immigration attorney that has done everything for us. But James, it blows my mind how many people circumvent that part of the process because they think that I can do it better, or all it is filling out paperwork. Because in the States, here's the thing you have working for you: you speak the language and the culture.
Right. I shared this with Glenn the other day.
Yeah.
There's three prices. There's the price of Panama, this price of the people who are from outside, foreigners, but already understand the laws.
Expats.
Right, expats.
Yep.
And then are those that don't know anything, that come here, and that price is going to be always higher.
Right.
So you want to get to the one point where you can get to those prices of Panama.
Yep.
But that's where relationships. That's where you get knowing people, and they go, "Hey, you're now part of Panama."
Yeah.
And by the way, one thing I can tell you about Panama is that I love the country. I love Panamanians. They're great people.
Listen,
They're great.
Look, I have to ditto that. For those of you guys that may just be tuning in, I'm sitting here in Mika Cafe. We happen to be sitting in the Santa Maria location. There's several locations. But James, when you talk about, James is the CEO of this company. And when you talk about relationships, one of the things, whether you're talking an immigration attorney, whether you're talking a business attorney, somebody that can help you do what needs to be done, we said it before and I'm gonna say it again, everything rises and falls on relationships. I've seen so many people that have come here and have got money. They got some money, right? And there's no question about it that your money here is generally gonna go a little further than it would in the US in general. However, if you don't know the culture and understand it or have relationships, that can change really quickly. Get yourself a great attorney to help you make sure that if you're gonna move here, that you can stay here. Hello. Because there's a lot of people who get here and figure that out after the fact.
Amen.
When it comes to building a business, starting a business, particularly as an expat, what is something that you really wish you would have known prior to coming here?
I'll share this with you. When I lived in Florida, I moved from New York to Florida.
Okay.
And that was a culture change. Real big culture change for me.
So
that helped me a little bit before I came to Panama. Because when I came to Panama, it was another culture change. So the first thing that I would say to everyone is that if you come down here, respect. Respect the culture. Respect that this is a different culture. Come here, learn the culture.
Yeah.
Understand the people. Understand that the way you think, they're very intellectual here. They're very, very intelligent.
Yeah.
They're sharp people, extremely successful.
Yeah.
Educated.
Yeah.
So all that stuff is and at some points, I say this to people in the U.S., but some points, some of them are much more educated. And I've found out that they're much more educated. There's a
Then they
huge,
let on. Then they let on. Yeah. They don't.
Right.
They're humble people.
Very humble.
So they're not going to wear their accolades on their sleeve. You're not going to know. Cherie had a physical therapist that came to the home when she broke her ankle and did her physical therapy for 8 weeks or whatever. Sophie's 26 years old. She has a doctorate degree in physical therapy. Her dad is an orthopedic surgeon, and so are three of her brothers. She has two sisters. One is a surgeon, and the other one is a cancer research specialist in the U.S. And then she has another sister that's a head of nursing. So again, this is a 26-year-old kid.
Exactly.
And she's very Panamanian, and she, did her undergrad here, went abroad to do her master's, went to another country to get her doctorate, and you would never know that because in our case, we don't speak the language,
Yep.
so we can't get into the nuances, but thank God she spoke enough English to be able to help us understand. But to your point, educated.
No, listen, I have one of my partners is one of the top cancer doctors in all of Central and South America, and actually was educated in the United States, worked in one of the top place to work in for cancer, Houston, Texas, and worked with some of the top doctors of cancer in the United States, and he literally came back to Panama because he wanted to serve here, and he wanted to serve his people, but they wanted him to stay in the U.S.
Right.
And this guy is extremely top and a very humble and an incredible man, and a man of God.
Yeah.
So, again, respect the culture. Respect the culture. The second thing that I would say is that build relationships when you get down here. Start to build relationships with people. Start learning who's who, what, how to get things done. And the third thing is when you come down here is understanding the laws of the difference in the laws of business. Because there are huge differences.
Got it.
There are similarities, but there's a lot of huge differences.
Give people just sort of, as a restaurateur, this is your business. James has, and if you listen to his resume, he has been a part of turning around some major franchises in different regions of the U.S., many of which you would know. But if you had to speak to a person that maybe they're a chef, they cook, they want to come here, retire, maybe they had restaurants in the U.S. or whatever, but they come here and they want to open up a restaurant or they want to open up different things. What are some things that you can let them know right away that, had you to known this, caused you to rethink how you moved when it comes to this kind of stuff?
One of the, when I took over Mika, I already had been here for more than 10 years, right? And basically one thing that I really got is that you want to understand the palate of Panamanians, because a lot of people come down here, and I've learned this also building other restaurants, and you want to understand the palate.
Okay.
You need to understand, because one biggest mistakes that Americans make, they come down here thinking, what you always hear, Mexican food. Mexican is so different than down here. It's not nowhere near the same palate. The Caribbean is more related to the palate here. So that's what I'm saying. You got to understand the palate. The other thing is that the one thing that is true, that's in the U.S. and in Panama that will always be the same for restaurants, is that the three most important things is location, location, location.
Okay.
So that holds true.
That
holds true across the board.
Okay.
Then the next thing is understanding that you got to really put a lot of training into your people.
Talk about that, James, because what you guys do at Mika is next level in terms of training.
Well, the thing is that I do training not only in service, I do changing on how to change the chip mentally. We didn't talk about this, but I'm also a leadership coach for John Maxwell team. I was actually, I was the first one in all Central South America when I joined John Maxwell, but I've been following John Maxwell in personal development since the early 90s. Right. So that's something that's transformed my life, helped me to change my chip. And so when you come down here, you're helping to that team of yours to understand what your philosophy and your purpose is. What is your purpose? One of ours that you'll see later is más amor, por favor. More, and in English it doesn't swing as well as in Spanish, but más amor, por favor is more love, please, right? So in other words, giving more love in your service, giving more love, food, more. So that's our purpose. So what we need to do is that we want to teach that. So you cannot, and this has been true also when I went to Florida, it was almost the same culture as Panama, the west coast of Florida, where you had to do a lot of training, a lot of teaching. And now I think it's worldwide. After the pandemic, it's like you got to retrain everybody.
When he talks about retraining, many of you guys as entrepreneurs will find out, particularly if you're in a service-based business, brick and mortar, it is hard to find good people. It is hard to find people who are willing to put in the work, willing to be developed, willing to be trained. And a lot of that, the pandemic shifted just because of the nature of how the economics began to work in the US. But what you guys do is really different, and it really kind of starts in y'all's recruitment process.
Right.
Would you agree?
That to me, and that's true for any company or any business. You know, I've helped hotels here in Panama. I've worked with quite a few different hotel chains. And what I can tell you is this, that when you're recruiting people, I've had 30, 50 people come in for interviews, and I literally didn't hire anyone. Now what happens is that most people come down here, they want to hire right away, they want to get people, and what they need to get, it doesn't matter whether you're here, the US, or wherever, you need to really put, you need to have intention, you know, in your recruitment.
Yep.
You need to make sure that, look, I'm looking for this specific person that smiles, person has a great attitude. How do I do that? Speaking to them, looking at their resume, looking at how, you know, are they staying 6 months, 1 year, every place that they ever worked with? Not a good sign.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Not consistent, so you need to look for those things, and you need to look, and then you need to have the right questions. You know, you got to ask the questions that are based on your purpose and what you're trying to create and your vision and mission of your restaurant. Because each restaurant is different.
Let me just interject real quick, shameless plug, and you know, James didn't ask me to do this, but if you guys are looking to come this way and you're looking for someone to consult with, someone who knows the business, knows the industry, knows the people, has relationships, can get you connected to pretty much anybody you need to be connected to in order to win, I want you to consider, I'm going to put his information in our description and create a link or what have you. But I want you to get up with him, and here's why. James, and I'm telling you right now, I think one of the reasons why we connected is because there are people that you meet that are genuinely people. And if you look into their background, if you look into how they grew up, if you look at how they got to where they are, I can guarantee you what you're going to find is that they came along a path where people helped them immensely to get where they need to be. So it's almost a sense of duty or honor to pay that forward in a lot of ways. And that's what you get in a consultant when you deal with him. He's going to teach you the nuts and bolts, I promise you.
Yep.
He's going to teach you the how-tos and all of that. But I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to help you get connected to culture from a people standpoint. So I didn't mean to go off the rails, but I needed to say that, man, bro, because that's just so true. I think that's why so many people lose.
Right. And I think that's it's important. I've gone through my own challenges here. You know, we're going through a tough time right now, but that's part of the growth process.
Yep.
And the learning process, so that you know, it's something that we all go through, and you need to be prepared for that too, because as you're learning, again, I have friends that extremely successful came here from the U.S. and they hit a wall. Yep. And they had to make adjustments, and then they got back to that point. But I have others that have left. They're not here anymore because they did not want to do what it takes. And I think that's what's really important. You know, there's several things I talk about. The law of sacrifice, which most people do not want to do what it takes, because you got to sacrifice. Growth is process. You know, I love what John Maxwell talks about, the law of the rubber band.
100%. Which
means basically, you know, that you're going to be stretched to the point. But what happens is people don't want to go through that. They don't want to go stretch. They don't want to deal with stress. They don't want to deal with that, what it takes. Right. So I will say this. If you just want to retire and you want to open up a business, but you really want to retire, you might want to reconsider.
Y'all, please take that back to the bank.
You might want to reconsider.
For all the people in the back, James.
If you are retiring and then you want to come down, because like Glenn was talking about, you have money. You have to say, hey, I have some money in the account, and I want to start, and I'm going to tell you something. I have a really good friend of mine who is now 88 years old, right? And I met him here in Panama. He actually was a successful restaurateur in the Bronx. He owned many McDonald's. Actually, the Rockefeller Center McDonald's, him and his brother was the one that owned that. They opened that. Wow. So anyway, he's successful, and he came here And he opened several businesses and they crashed. But it was because of the fact that he did not know that, and he's retired.
Yeah.
So I was telling him, are you here to retire or you want to become an entrepreneur again? Because if you're going to retire, then you need to be really understanding that process that I'm coming here to retire. Then do that, because if you can open up a business, guess what? You're unretired.
Yeah, no doubt. Cherie says this all the time. No, bro, you hit the nail on the head. Because Cherie has to consistently remind us that when we came to Panama 18 months ago, the goal was we were in search for a place of peace.
Right.
She was in search for a place of peace.
Sherry, God bless you.
I was following my wife. I was being a good husband. And I was basically saying, hey, babe, however you want to do this, listen, your mental health is primary. Here's what I didn't realize. That the cost for me of her peace was that I was going to have to scale back a lot of the business things that I was doing, and she did not want to go after it anymore. We didn't have to, and she was like, I want to live a life of retirement. I said, babe, but we're not retired. She said, yeah, but I want to live a life like that. So we had to find a mix of business, but also semi-retirement in a sense. But the truth is that, and you call it the chip, your mindset has to shift. When you come to a place like this, it starts with the culture, it builds with relationships. You have to understand and respect the people and what's going on. You got to treat people like you want to be treated, but more importantly, you got to be willing to put in work.
You got to be willing to work. Listen, can you retire and have a part-time business? Absolutely. You know, I love what you guys do. I mean, that's great. But you got to be really, you know, like, you got to be mentally prepared for what it is that you want. Like, you know, you got to have a vision, a mission. Create your vision and mission statement. For example, I'm retired. I would love to have a business that makes me another $5,000 a month. There you go. That's different. Hey, you know what? I could work in peace, and I could work my way up to that.
That part.
And get to $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month extra on top of my retirement. That's a beautiful thing, and you can do that. But you're gonna just get that it's a process. You're not coming in here to go all out.
Right.
You know, you're doing it in your pace, and you're growing your business.
Oh, that's so good, because that's the biggest thing for us. Although our business is online, we don't own a brick and mortar. Our business also is a U.S.-based business. So our business is not based on the economy of Panama. So our mindset is, we don't have to, but when we do, let's work like we have to. Right. So in other words, we're not going to shortchange just because we're doing this or we're doing that. We just recently started an online community to help people grow spiritually who find themselves disconnected from the church building. But James, we have connected with people all over the world. Well, that's coming out of a nonprofit that we started called the We All Need Some Help Foundation. It is not a for-profit business, although we will do fundraisers and different things like that because we want to add value and be a blessing to the locals here, to people abroad back home. Amen. We're going to generate revenue, but this is not at a breakneck speed that causes us to lose sleep at night.
And guess what? If you're going to do a restaurant, that's a whole different
ballgame.
You're going to live it, breathe it, eat it. And that's why I share with people, be sure that that's it, because you could love to cook.
Yes.
But running a restaurant is very different than loving to cook. You know what I mean? So it's just a different thing. And I know friends of mine that have opened restaurants and sold it, and they got out and they love to cook. Now they're actually doing stuff online, cooking.
Listen,
you know, they're doing a whole different thing.
I'll give you guys a tip. You love to cook, right? You have a recipe that is bomb, that you know that amazes every time you put it together. What would it look like for you to put together a distribution situation where you create the sauce and you sell it online direct to customers? Right? You bottle it, you create, you go through all of it, and you do not have to have that's something that can run independent of you once it gets going. But the point is, no, we got to have the whole brick and mortar and all the things that come with it, but you've not had that. You know, your mindset isn't right.
And that's what I'm saying. So if you come into Panama and depending on if you're coming to retire, then consider what it is that you want to do. If you come to retire, I would come down, retire, and then learn the culture.
That's good.
Learn the culture, involved in the community.
Yep.
Get connected with our community as well as you want, and just get involved and start understanding. Panama, travel Panama, understand it, breathe it, eat it.
Oh, that's
live
good.
it.
That's good, bro.
And then after that, consider the other options you like. Because I think that'll help you. There's a learning curve when you come to. By the way, whether it's Panama or whatever country,
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
There's always a learning curve.
There's going to be a learning curve. You got to learn the culture because one of the we spoke about this the other day when in Breakfast in the Word. We were talking about this with the community that was there. That you got to really take your time to understand. You know what I mean? You got to take your time to understand the community.
Yeah, because the community is an organism. Let me stop for a quick second.
Exactly.
I think, James, a lot of people don't understand. Community by definition means that we are going to commune. We're going to do life together. That's an organism. That's a living thing.
Right.
And the challenge is that if you don't stop, get connected, and figure out how that thing breathes, how it operates, how it moves, why it does things, you're not going to do it. I want to talk before we get out of here today. The collaboration that we're doing, you and I, when we discovered one another, one of the quickest things it was the relationship. My ex-wife's cousin and him worked together for many years, and they became the greatest of friends, brothers, to be really honest.
Amen.
And by happenstance, when Deirdre and Darren were here with us in Casco Viejo back in January 23, they started DMing each other, my ex-wife and her cousin, that she was here, and he was like, hey, you gotta connect with James, my guy. He owns several restaurants. One of the things I love about James is that he's one that will collaborate, whether it's business to business, whether it's faith to faith, whether it's people to people. But how important is it to find common value, common ground, and if you're gonna grow a business, start a business, to collaborate your way to success?
It's everything. It's everything. Listen, if you're gonna, one thing, mistakes, that's how you learn. You find out that even if you're gonna do a business with partners, you gotta have partners that have the same values. They gotta have the same goals. They gotta have the same vision. If they don't, you're gonna have a lot of problems because you're gonna clash a lot. If you're gonna work with someone, you're gonna get involved in a community. They gotta have the same values. When I created the vision statement for this company, the first thing that I put in the vision statement is that our center is God. That's in our vision statement. And that was something that was important to me because, and I'll say it and never shame to say that Jesus Christ is my Savior. And that's important to me. Yeah. So I'm not saying that someone needs to be a Christian in order for me to do business. Sure. But they have to have my values.
Got it.
You gotta love on people. You gotta care, you gotta care for your people. You gotta have a common ground. You're not gonna have all the same, you're not gonna all agree on the same things. I'm not saying that. You might politically not agree on the same things. That's okay as well. But you both love on people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You both love on people.
And so that's something you build on.
Right. I'm gonna share something with you, and this is my own philosophy. People say this business is business. James, that's personal. This is business. To me, that's garbage.
Talk about it, bro.
All right. Everything is personal. If I fire somebody, it's a business decision, but I'm affecting their personal life.
Wow.
And then in the end, those people are going to affect actually how they relate to my business later on. Wow. So it's all personal and it's all business.
Wow.
Because every part is like, do I want that person to come back here? Do I want to love on them? Now, do I have to make those decisions when someone unfortunately is not doing what you expect them to do and they don't want to change? Yes, you got to make those decisions, those tough decisions.
Wow.
That always affect me. I remember when I used to have, I'm from New York. Hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? So I grew up from New York, and they're like, hey, it's business.
Right,
you know what I mean?
It's just business.
Forget about it. Hey, look at us, New York. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
I would say this: forget about it. It's all personal and it's all business. So it's all interrelated. The minute you get that, that's when you can love your customers, by the way.
That's good.
Because you're not going into this formal thing with my customer. No, I want to relate to them. I want to love on those customers too. I want to love on my employees. I want to love on my brother. I want to love on my partners, my business people, my leaders. I want to love on all of them. And so the thing is that now, obviously, if you're in leadership, everything rises and falls on relationships and on leadership.
Facts.
So the fact is that you need to do that. You need to get connected with your people, and you need to speak with them.
So speaking of collaboration, I want to end here, James. We recently launched what we're calling Breakfast in the Word. And
Amen.
Cherie and I answered a call that God had been calling us to do for years prior to even coming to Panama, that really during the pandemic became very evident that there were a ton of people who loved God but were separated from Him because they somehow associated going to a building with a relationship with God. And the challenge is when they stop going to a building, they stop connecting with God's people. And thus they begin to feel like they were far away from God. And so what we're doing is every single week we're on a Zoom call, we're chopping up the word. A lot of it is relationship based and how to connect those kinds of dots. But then once a month, we are doing a scheduled public meetup, whether here in Panama or we've got people from all over the world, literally, that are part of this call, that are doing meetups in their cities, in their states, in their countries, simultaneously with us. We're choosing to call ours first Saturdays. It is a gospel brunch that we're doing here, and we partnered with Mika Cafe, partnered with James because of his heart. I needed a partner that understood, no, this isn't just food and this isn't just transaction. This is about transformation. People are going to come, they're going to hear good music, they're going to fellowship with people, they're going to eat great food, but more importantly, we're going to grow in our faith and in our relationship. So I just want to publicly say thank you, man, for the opportunity.
No, thank you.
That's an example of what collaboration looks like based on values.
Amen. And if I can just say one more thing, for those business people that are going with James, when you're doing a decision in a business, it's a business decision. Well, the business is a live entity. It's a live entity. It becomes a live entity once you start actually operating as a business and you're actually creating it. But the business entity is the people.
Ooh.
It's the people.
Because without the people, there is no business.
There is no entity.
Wow.
It doesn't exist. The hearts of the people is what create, and the leader of that business is what creates that live entity. On the other end of it, the business has to be healthy.
Yes.
So it's like having parents. That's why I have a scale, and people sometimes get it. They don't get it quite. I said that the business is a little bit more on this side, and the people here. There's a little bit more weight on here, and I'll tell you why. Think of this as the parent. If the parent isn't healthy, cannot take care of the child. So the thing is that the business needs to be healthy in order to take care of the employees.
Wow.
So the employees have to be we need to make sure that we're healthy as a business in order for those results to come back to us and take care of us.
Oh, that's good.
So what happens is that with those two things, and that's why there's some people when they first hear me, oh, wait a minute, but the people, is equal. And I go, actually it's really not. And I am a very people, that's my whole thing. But it really is, you got to have a little bit more on the business. You got to take care of the business, and that's where the employees, the leadership, the partners, and everyone needs to come take care of this in order to take care of this.
Listen, y'all, we could go on and on. I just had 5 thoughts behind what he just said. And maybe we'll just have to jump on and do another thing at some point, which is no problem. Here's what I know to be true. You cannot get to any place of significance by yourself, guys, because we all need some help. And Cherie and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode of Behind Closed Doors with the Brookses. God bless.